If you're a curious soul who would like to know how to get your FDM prints looking like they've come straight off a resin printer, then this is the video for you. Because yet again, I'm sharing all my ups and downs and my tips and tricks and my things not to do and what you can kind of do to get FDM prints that once they're prepped, primed and painted, look just as good as anything from a resin printer. Right, let's crack on. So let's start with the all-important head. I'm doing this on the Bambu H2D with the 0.2 nozzle using the 0.04 ultra quality settings that I've devised that's available on my Patreon, the paid members, and on Gumroad, links in the description, but they're also covered in my last video. So it's just over 11 hours. I've cut just the bottom of the neck off just to give that flat surface, because with most STLs it was cut for resin printing, so there's no real flat surfaces. It's not going to adhere very well to the print bed, so that was just cut in Bambu because it was just a simple cut, and the seam's going to be hidden by the collar that it's going to be on. And also you may have noticed that there's a 4x12mm magnet hole, so that it's, 4mm isn't a very big magnet, but the length of it, 12mm, gives it the power that it needs to be to stay on securely. So for the magnet holes, I just opened the torso and neck part in Blender and the head, put in a cylinder at the right orientation that matched the size of the magnet with a 0.2mm tolerance, deleted one of the cylinders from the neck section, and the duplicate cylinder from the head section. Now for the first of the larger parts, this time I'm just using a flat plane that I give a solidify note modify to with a 0.002 thickness to, which always works out quite well. And I knew I was going to cut the arms off of this part so that the bottom of the torso, just underneath his belt, would be sitting flat on the build plate, so that the legs could be flipped upside down and they would be printed straight up into the sky. But for that, I'd actually need to cut off the boots so that the foot and the toes, when they sort of bend back round 90 degrees and sort of float in midair, you won't have a load of supports ruining the top surface of the boots. The shoulder pads had these great places to sort of put a cut through, which was through these ridges that was going to hide the seam quite well. I do cut them up further into about 3 chunks with the hand, the shoulder and the forearm, just to get everything printed off the best possible way. There's quite a lot of detail to capture there. So there wasn't one orientation for the entire arm that would work perfectly for all the different parts that I want to print off well. So all those parts are printed using the 0.06 lay height for that insane detail, but not quite as crazy as the 0.04 because that would just taken ages. And the base was done with the 0.08 settings on the 0.4 nozzle, using settings from the guide I've just released over on my Patreon and on Gumroad, links in the description. And as you can see, the legs being cut, how they were cut, and how the boots were cut off so that everything would print really nicely. Fortunately, it did have a little bit of a blockage in the nozzle. It's an old 0.2 nozzle on the H2D, and that's where I had to stop and change the nozzles over. So I did end up reprinting the legs just to get rid of that, because the sanding just didn't really work. So here you can see how the boots were printed, pretty much boots on the floor. Unfortunately, some of the seams on some of the textures were just, you can't get rid of them because it had this bobbly texture. But overall, printed out pretty well. I think it was probably going to be able to get away with it nicely once it's primed. The hand came out really well, actually. I mean, I know the fingers were perhaps a little bit ropey, but it's going to be hidden pretty much, not going to be very noticeable. And the arms, I actually ended up cutting up a little bit more because the overhangs just weren't quite working out that well. So here are the new cutouts and the new reprints. And I think it's safe to say that, getting rid of the line there with a reprint was much better than trying to hide it with sanding. I did actually change the one on the left was with lightning infill that printed a lot quicker than the gyroid original. And here you can see the cuts that I made to get more detail clearer on the shoulder parts was going to be worth it as well. I've got a whole section dedicated in my new guide to why I cut things the way I do and what I'm looking for and the kind of principles to it. I also got some older videos that show whys and wherefores, and it does make the big difference to getting really good prints to make these STLs that are actually made for resin printers that much easier to print good quality from FDM printers. I have tried resin for FDM, but I've not had that much success with it, to be honest. I think it's absolutely great for miniatures, but these big prints, I just think it's better to cut them up into the right orientations and fix the pieces back together later down the line. Now, when you're looking at these close-ups, and this is the 0.04 head, you might think, oh, this looks really dirty, there's loads of marks. This is really close up, and this hasn't been cleaned at all yet, so it does need a little bit of a trim. a little bit of taking off some of the extra bits and stuff. But once that's all got a bit of a layer of primer and some cleaning done, going to look fantastic. Incidentally, if you can guess which film I was watching in the background there, then pop in the comments and let me know what you think it was. Okay, so after a sort of standard grey and then a white zenithal primer sort of pass, I went with a sort of a very mid light blue, because I know I'm going to darken it down with 2 different speed paints, because there is like a dark recessed area and a lighter sort of a bluer area. First, it was a good idea to bring back some of the highlight detail with a just standard dry brushing of white, which of course is key to giving the speed paint some tone when they get slapped all over it. And already you can see, with it being a bit cleaned up and a bit tidied up in areas, that the model itself is looking great. And especially now with the primer, highlights and speed paint going on, it's starting to look pretty spiffing. I mean, look at that. How nice does that look? Pretty damn good, I reckon. Okay, now with the sort of more darker and desaturated blue for the recessed sections of his suit. And what I love about speed paints is they give an uneven look to it, which automatically gives it that lived-in, realistic kind of paint feel. I don't like doing, there's a bit of a cop-out actually, I don't like doing the very clean, toy-like kind of styles of painting, because I'm not that precise, and I just prefer a bit more of a gritty, realistic, lived-in kind of look, which speed paints just are fantastic for, even, or I should say, especially on large prints like this, but even though they're more associated with miniatures. Those of you may have seen as well that I placed some magnet holes into the arm sockets, into the shoulders, so that they, and the seams were so good, the cuts were so good, I'm not just saying this, that I can just place the arms on and off and don't really need to do any filling. So I just kept them detachable for ease. I'm going to politely skip through the painting of the skin and the heads, because although I'm trying my best to train up on the best practices and learn this and learn that, I don't think on this particular model I'm getting away with it. I'll skip forward now to show you the final pieces. Unlike my Wolverine, where I kind of messed up a little bit and got away with it and it looked pretty good, I think there's not really that much hiding on this Chris Evans Captain America model. It's getting those, I tend to struggle when it goes from the washes to getting it to look like it's not a corpse anymore. And one bonus of being very clumsy with my airbrushes is that I always end up knocking the nozzles, but it means that they end up spraying very splatty, which is great for the textures. So as you can see from how the paint is actually getting distributed on the handles there, how it's not coming out that smooth really. And I don't know if it's just my eyes or the lights that I work at, or just lack of experience, that means that I kind of always kind of can't quite balance it well enough to get it looking just as lifelike as I wish I could. So please don't take this as any kind of a tutorial whatsoever. Just take it as somebody who struggles with skin tones, making them look realistic, because I really want them to look real, like some of the people are capable of doing. I don't want them to look like a flat skin tone toy-like kind of thing. I really want them to look like it's a living person, but alas, it's eluding me at the moment, so let's skip forward to the end of that. I will just say, actually, though, that I was extremely happy with the eyes on this model, which for me, if you see any of my other videos where I'm trying to do eyes, is a turn up for the books. Anyway, onto the base, which I just airbrushed with a shining silver. And as I was, and still am, super up against it time-wise, I just went with the old speed paint blue over the silver, just to get it done quick. You know, I should really say, like and subscribe, guys, comment, interact, hype it on your mobile phone. That makes a huge amount of difference. All your support has been incredible. You can join my Patreon, you can look at my other videos across the channel. All signals to the algorithm that you like my content, and you can make this channel grow, which I'd absolutely love. I really want to get to 10,000 subscribers very, very quickly, hopefully within the next couple of months. So love you all. Thank you so much for your support. So cracking on. I didn't use silver on the parts of his armor or suit because I thought that might look a little bit too techy. So I just went with a sort of mid light grey in multiple layers, just sort of build up to the smoothness of it. Hand painted because I couldn't be bothered to mask it off and airbrush it. And although a little bit messy at this point, I think the blue speed paint worked okay on the base. Again, this is all a little bit against the clock, really. The silver looks disappointingly drab on screen, but it really isn't that bad. Anyway, the next thing to do was to sort of mask off with the any kind of masking fluid that you might have. Areas where you want the silver to shine through, like chips and stuff, and obviously the middle ring there will need to be fully masked off, as well as the star. So I made sure to do all that as well. I bought some Artist masking fluid, which when it dries you can't see it, so I would go for the ones that turn like purple when it dries, because it was a bit of a pain in the arse, to be fair. Did exactly the same for the shield. Now, I'm acutely aware all of a sudden I haven't really mentioned the shield before, but what I did is I cut it straight through the middle to print 2 half moons pointing straight up, so that you've got that resolution on the face that's going to make it look really kind of clean. Unfortunately, you do have the seam straight through the middle. I didn't, when I glued it together, I was a little bit off with it, like 0.5 millimeter, which was annoying because it could have been absolutely flush. It was very nearly absolutely flush. But if I'd printed it in one piece with the star pointing straight up, you would see layer lines after layer lines. It would have been a nightmare, because the tops of any print, especially curved, even with ironing on, always reveal the layer lines, because each layer is massive. It's a flat plane. Each layer is a flat plane, where when things are printed vertically, it's a small sliver of the cross section. The silver looks so much better on the shield than it does on the base. It looks quite similar in real life, although I did put a sort of light wash, a light sort of tan sepia wash over the base to give it that sort of dirt, rusty sort of, just some kind of like character to it. So that's probably the reason, to be fair. It looks great in reality, honestly, really. Anyway, so I went with again, speed paints, and I just love the way they flow, and just how rich they are with the blue and the red. It don't have to be too neat, because everything is like going to be battle damage, and there's a lot of it's been covered in latex anyway, so who gives a shit? Well, once it's all dry, here comes the fun bit, taking off all the latex. And I just gave it a bit of a, you can be a bit rough with it, get a bit of a harsh wipe, and because it was invisible, I had no idea what it was going to look like and how much I had sort of covered off. So it was very satisfying to take off the latex. And in fact, I recommend to everybody to cover whatever you can in latex, and then have fun taking that latex off at a slightly later date. Who knows what things you could get up to. Oh shit, did I actually say that out loud? And the bonus of doing it this way around, as opposed to painting on the silver bits later, is that you actually have real depth. There's real layers to it. You know, there's chips in the paint. So you've got that tiny imperceptible shadow that your eye can pick up on that you would never be able to brush on in real life. Anyway, so everything's done, so let's bring it all together. So hopefully this video shows how an amateur like myself can get amazing prints off an FDM printer, faff about with paints and airbrushes and a little bit of latex, and get figurines that look as good as anything you can get off a resin printer. So it just remains for me to say thank you so much to my Patreons. Thank you so much to all the support and the comments. And the feedback has been outstanding. I'm shocked and touched and humbled by it all. I truly, truly am. Just to know that I've helped a few of you, or some of you, to pick up the hobby with an FDM printer, or pick up a paintbrush that you thought you would never pick up off because you're daunted by what you see other people doing. Just do it. Just have fun. I mean, I've made a mess of this print in a lot of areas, but I've learned a heck of a lot as well. So it's all about the process. So on that note, if you'd like to see my incredible Wolverine FDM print, or how to get incredible detail from a 0.2 nozzle, then take a look at these videos. And remember to take a look at Patreon and Gumroad, where my brand new 0.4 nozzle guide should be live right now. Okay, I've been Crackfox, and I'll catch you next time.